All right. Now, I want to talk about airway. Now, this right here is just to keep it in there. I need to add a new airway to this because obviously this one's seen better days. All right. The packaging's gone. I just kind of threw this there for conversation's sake. Right. This is a nasopharyngeal airway, and this does a couple of things. Number one, if you're worried about facial damage, blood running into the mouth, etc., this goes up the nose, and you can kind of see that it'll get to the back of the throat pretty easily, right? Got a little trumpet, stops it right about like so, and it's going to run about like that. So, typically these will have some form of like personal lubricant, a small tube of that with it or a package of that. You slather it down, shove it up their nose, and it'll go back there and get to where it needs to go. Aside from opening up their airway and preventing fluid from their oral cavity from getting in there and them aspirating that and effectively drowning on their own blood. Another thing it'll do is if you think your patient is truly unconscious and unresponsive, when you start shoving an NPA down their throat, you're going to find out real quick if they're actually unresponsive or not. I'll go ahead and throw that in the trash. There are other airway forms as well. I use the nasopharyngeals because those are the only things I've been trained on. I learned how to use those when I was in the military. So there are oral airways that go in and twist. And my dad's a respiratory therapist. He's fucking awesome at putting an airway in. There are other things you can do if you're carrying a bigger kit. Obviously, assuming your training level is on, there's some really interesting airways out there nowadays. I mean, some of them are surgical, some of them are non-surgical. There's some really interesting airways out there. For me, I'm not a medical professional, so I prefer to keep it simple. I like a simple nasopharyngeal airway, preferably size 28 French, because that's the size most commonly used on adults. All right. Up the nose, or slick it up, get it down the nose, and you're probably okay as far as securing an airway. If you're not okay, well, Corpsman. That's all I can say is get your Corpsman on the way. All right. So I believe, and again, there are oral airways. They're like supraglottal. And those are, I can't tell you about those because I don't know about them. All right. I know they exist. I've read about them. I know SF medics and PJs that carry them. I'm not an SF medic. I'm not a PJ. Okay. I don't even play one on TV. All right. So that's a big thing with any of this medical equipment. Make sure you have documentable training saying you know how to use it. It just keeps you from getting sued. And more importantly, make sure you actually know how to use it so you don't end up injuring your patient further. Patreon in the link tree.